we can take you to the sun, we can take you to the moon, or we can take you to the stars. Tingles with flyby. Daily ASMR videos. Hello and welcome to the Space Travel Agency, your one-stop destination for all travel throughout the solar system and beyond. Is this your first time with us? No? Okay. Can I just get your surname? Let's see. Oh, it looks like you previously had just a little jaunt off to the moon. So you enjoyed your trip? That's lovely up there, isn't it? Get to bounce around a lot. Very fun. So, let's see. Do you know where you want to go this time? We staying within the solar system, or you thinking about leaving at all? You want to stay within? Now, obviously, we have a wide range of trips. It would be impossible for me to go through them all with you. So why don't I just go through a little sampling, see if anything hits a chord. Yeah, and then if you hear something that sounds good but not quite right, then we can delve in a little more to our other options, okay? Wonderful. Let's go ahead and we'll get started nearest the sun. So first we have Mercury. Let's see what missions we have coming up to Mercury. Okay, so we have one departing. This is in 2 months. It's a 2-month journey out to Mercury. So of course, as you know, a lot of time is often taken up in arriving to your destination. Of course, the spacecraft that you will be taken on from the Space Travel Agency is absolute comfort. So you get your own private air pocket, perfect for just lounging around. You have your own dedicated window as well, so you can look out and watch the universe go by. It's the best place in the universe to see the stars. You will also have, at times through the journey, your porthole will be facing the sun. So the spaceship does have sun blockers, obviously to prevent any issues from UV radiation or anything. When you went to the moon, it's obviously a much shorter trip, so the spaceships are a little bit different. So, when you head off to Mercury, if you go on this trip, it does take about 3 weeks to arrive and 3 weeks to come back. That gives you 2 full weeks in Mercury. And it's quite a lovely place. It's very unique, and you'll get to explore all around the exterior. So you'll go into orbit. We don't actually land on Mercury. The sun's rays make it way too hot for us to land on the surface. So a lot of our visits are to either moons, particularly in the outer planets, or an orbiting journey. Yeah. So in Mercury, you're very close to the sun. This is very popular for our sun bathers. I mean, what better place to sunbathe than right near of course, we do have protective gear. You won't be going outside of the spacecraft without any sort of protective gear, spacesuits, etc. But we do have a dedicated room on the Mercury ship for sunbathing specifically. So while you're out in orbit, you'll be able to feel just the slightest amount of gravity. You'll notice it differently from when you are arriving at your destination. The space flight there will be much more weightless. You'll just experience the slightest amount of gravity when you're in orbit around Mercury. Now, our next possible trip is, of course, to Venus. And Venus is called Earth's sister planet because both of our planets are quite similar in size. And if you've only been to the moon, you probably haven't seen the Earth quite as far away as you could potentially. So it's a very gorgeous view as you're flying away from the Earth, looking at it kind of, in your rear view, but it's really just a window out the back of the spaceship. Just so glorious, and I know it's lovely to go out and explore space, but when you've been out in space for 7 weeks, when you start to see the Earth again, nothing more beautiful than that blue planet. This Venus trip, this one departs actually quite soon, so it's taking off in 3 weeks. Excuse me, I have an itch on my nose. The journey to Venus is taking off in 3 weeks, and it's a 2-month journey as well. You get a bit more time in Venus because it's closer. Now, this is an experimental trip. So, we've previously done orbiting trips around Venus, which is very lovely. It's got a very thick atmosphere. And sulfuric acid, very dangerous. But we've been working with our engineers to develop a spaceship that can, more a landing module that can float down in the atmosphere. We still won't go down onto the surface. There's too much chance of damage down at the surface. We haven't quite engineered our ways out of that one yet. But pools of sulfuric acid and all that. But this floating device, it is completely optional. If you want to stay up in the spaceship the entire time, you're completely free to. But if you want to be part of making history, then you can join in on this exploratory landing device. So it's a floating device. It's kind of a floating city in the cloud, but much stronger atmospheres, though, be much more akin to being in an airplane here on Earth. So you'll definitely be able to feel the effects of Venus's gravity. Quite an amazing experience to feel another world's gravity very strongly acting on you. I know when I went to Mars, it's just nothing like it. It's just, you never quite realize how constant the level of gravity is here on Earth until you go somewhere else. I mean, you would probably know that from going to the moon. It's just a bit different. So, we have that trip. Very experimental. You'd have to get in. We only have 2 slots left on that one, so you'd want to book your seat really soon, because it does take off quite soon as well. But you get a nice long time to explore, so we don't even really know what we'll be exploring exactly because it is experimental, so it's a really great way to kind of break ground on a new avenue of exploration. Now, of course, closer to home we have moon journeys. Just gonna skip over those since you've already been to the moon. That's old hat. Off to Mars. Now, I've been to a few different trips throughout my time at the Space Travel Agency, and I must say, inside our solar system, Mars is, bar none, the best. It's because it's relatively safe to go onto the red planet. You can go and explore. You have exploratory modules. You have lots of gear, like 4-wheel drive type things, and you can go out and go somewhere that nobody's ever seen before. And then, of course, you have comfort and feels almost like home. Kind of more like a very limited home. Obviously, we try to cater to every convenience that we can, but this is a space journey, so there's going to be some going without and a lot of going with amazing experiences. So, Mars, that one, let's see, when is the next Mars trip? The next Mars trip is in 3 months. And that one is going to be a 3-month journey. So you get a nice long time to explore. And it's actually going to break up into a few different groups. So you can go in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, or right around the equator. I recommend the equator. You get the longest days, the most time. I mean, unless you want to go, I don't remember which way, but the equator, it's also the warmest, so you don't need your suit to be on as much. Oh, it's so fun, though. I did some sledding down a dirt mound. I brought home a little sample of Martian rock as well. It's so cool. Yeah. And last time I went up to the northern hemisphere actually, and there you can see some of the kind of remnants of water. So it's just amazing to think, what might have been there back in the past, and, what could be there in the future of water, how things end up. I just love thinking about the possibilities. So Mars, my top recommendation for sure. Particularly if you really like to interact rather than observe. It's really great for that. Moving on, we have our Jupiter missions. Now, Jupiter missions can get very, very hectic, or you can keep them simple. Really depends on which mission you want to go on. So we have kind of both ones coming up. Any more? Well, okay. So for Jupiter, you can either go basically direct to the planet, stay in orbit, and you're just observing the planet, or you can go on a tour of all the moons of Jupiter. Not all of them, but the biggest ones. There's so many going around Jupiter. Yeah, so the one that goes to all the moons, that's a 6-month journey. If you want the shorter one, that's a 3-month journey, and you get about 2 weeks at Jupiter. Yeah, so the storms on Jupiter are very dangerous, very high wind speeds. We've not attempted at all to go down in. That's not part of our plans right now. We don't see it as feasible or worth the risk at this point. not quite like Venus. But if you go on the moon hopping one, you do get to touch down a few different places. You'll feel the moon's gravity, get to see the interesting features of each of the moons. It's really cool, but it can be quite overwhelming. If you can't tell, I did go on that one. I was a little overwhelmed, but fascinating for sure. Yeah, so moon hopping one. The 6-month one, we don't have one going out for about 5 months. We just had recently one take off. A shorter trip to Jupiter, I should say. We have taking off in 4 weeks. Yeah, I could tell you thinking about that moon hopping one. You must have really liked your time on the moon. Moons are fascinating. Great adventures. I mean, and there's so many different adventures that you can go on that particular trip. It's mind-boggling. I really did do a lot. But I probably should have spent some more time just lounging around in the spaceship, to be honest. Really exhausted myself. But it was worth it, definitely. Next, we have Saturn, and we have the same sort of setup. So you can go just a Saturn orbit. This one, we also have 2 orbiting distances. So you spend about a week at one distance, one at the other. And that's interior and exterior to the rings. Yeah. Obviously, part of the allure of going to Saturn is seeing the rings. So having a little bit of a further back exploration can be lovely. And then a moon hopper there, really cool. I've heard from people who have gone on them, they sound amazing, so definitely highly recommend that. Then on to Neptune and Uranus. We'll do those together as a bundle. Once you're journeying out that far, you kind of may as well hit both. It's still a long journey. That's a 6-month journey. And they're just gorgeous. You do see the moons for both of them. Yeah, we stopped down, I think, on one moon on each of them. Yeah, so that's a nice trip. And then obviously we have more going out to the Kuiper Belt, and then further out, on and on and on. But probably keep it restricted. Those get to be quite long journeys, but, very groundbreaking. You become part of a select club when you go on those trips. Nobody else has been out that far. Thinking about Jupiter, aren't you? It's gorgeous. It is amazing. My tip is spend some extra time in the spaceship. You don't have to try to do everything. You'll enjoy it a lot more if you don't try to do everything. Yeah, because there's so many moons, and even though it is a 6-month journey, you don't get a lot of time on each moon, so you can't kind of do everything mentally. It's a lot. So I recommend kind of planning out before you go. Look at the itinerary and choose the moons you're most interested in really delving into. And then take a step back on the ones that you're not. I mean, Ganymede, I absolutely loved. So I highly recommend, do not miss Ganymede. You must do Ganymede. It's amazing. Yeah. So, that's my recommendation. So should I put in a preliminary booking, and then we can obviously discuss the itinerary closer to the date? Lovely. Okay, so we're going to Jupiter, and that's the month. And are you paying in credits? Yep. That's a 50,000 credit. If I remember, I don't think budget was much of an issue last time. Okay, good. So this launches from our satellite in space. You have your own elevator that you get out. Perfect. Or a subscription, you know, however. Okay, so that's going to take off on the 30th of Nocturne. And it's a 2100 departure. Yes, wonderful. Got the preliminary booking. So I'll probably don't want to meet with you too far away because you want to have an idea of it right before you're going to go on the trip. So we'll probably meet in about 4 months. 4.5. Okay. So that would put it, if we meet about the 15th of Neptune. Yes. So 15th of Neptune. And 1500. Perfect. Okay, I have that booked in. And yeah, I'll see you then. We'll delve into all the details on your upcoming Jupiter exploration. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to go down and hit the thumbs up button. That way it'll be added to your liked videos so you can come back and find it in a year or two when you've forgotten all about it. Be sure to hit subscribe as well if you aren't already one of my official tinglings, so that you can know about my new uploads, which come every single day. I also do a viewers appreciation video each month on the 25th, featuring you. All you have to do for your chance to be featured is comment on any of my videos at least one time during the month. And I've done things like painting someone, or I did a finger spelling of people's names, all sorts of fun things, or sending people on vacations. That's the annual tingling travel competition. So there's lots of fun things you definitely want to get yourself talked about, because I will say your name if you're going to be featured. So be sure to comment for your chance. And otherwise, just go look through my channel. I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos, so I'm sure you can find the next perfect video to watch to continue your tingle buzz. And I will hopefully